Welcome to the Significance of Wealth podcast, where we explore the evolving landscape of wealth management, private investments, and collecting as both a passion and investment strategy. I'm Marty Salt. Today's guest is Asha Saxena, a globally recognized leader in technology, data science, and artificial intelligence. She has founded and led multiple technology companies, serves as a professor at Columbia University, and is the author of The AI Factor and the AI Factor Workbook. As CEO of Women Leaders in Data and AI, she is on a mission to shape a fair and responsible digital world. In this episode, Asha joins host Tom Ruggie to discuss the rapid rise of AI, its striking parallels to past technological revolutions, and the opportunities it creates for leaders and wealth managers to deliver greater personalization, efficiency, and long-term value. Now here's your host, Tom Ruggie.
AI is here, and it's the future. And today I have with us a world-renowned expert in the space. Her name is Asha Saxena. Asha, first of all, thank you so much for being here with us today.
I'm excited to be here, and I love this topic, so I'm looking forward to sharing what I know and hopefully add value to your listeners.
Well, I've done a lot of background research, and you know an awful lot more than I do, and I would imagine most of our listeners. So I think everybody's going to be excited to hear what you have to say. But let's first talk a little bit about, what is your background, what got you kind of to where you are today, and also maybe throw in, what's motivating you to keep moving and what's the vision of your future and, in particular within your field on a go forward basis.
And I have to say that as a leader in your industry, we all have to be lifelong learner in today's day and age, and we evolve from where we start. We never really stay where we started. I went to school for computer science engineering and did my master's in data science, PhD in high performance computing. So my academic is all around technology. And I started my career as a programmer, but very quickly built a data management consulting firm, which I ran for 22 years as a CEO, which grew rapidly. I mean, I was growing the technology firm in 90s and early 2000, and that was the time when there was a whole dot-com internet, and we were moving our technology from legacy systems to client server technology and then internet. And so there was a whole boom at that time. And then I built an e-commerce company and a healthcare software company where it was machine learning model. And I would tell you, it's a fascination of how data we were storing the data in structured format, and now we had this big data revolution where we could actually analyze the data. So my career really spans from the early days of databases to now big data and machine learning. And during this time, I think I was blessed to be able to start teaching at Columbia University, where I teach entrepreneurship and AI now,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I tell you, at our stage of our career, it is such a great honor to give back and build
Absolutely.
the next stage of leadership. And that led me to writing the books I wrote on AI. And now I lead a large mission-based organization that is focused on building a fair digital world, the responsible AI. And so we have leaders around the globe from Fortune 1000 companies who care about making sure that AI is implemented effectively.
That sounds amazing. And we will talk a little bit more about your books. Again, I've done a little research on it, and it's going to be soon on my to read list, and hopefully some of our listeners as well. But, one of the things you mentioned was, we're both old enough to have gone through kind of the early stages of the internet. And I think there's a huge overlay between what happened with the internet, let's say the early to mid 90s, and kind of where we are in the AI stage at this point. But I think one of the differences is, and this will be my end question, which is the pace at which things are moving. I'd like your input on that. But I would first say, I actually came into this year in my mind saying, okay, 2025 is going to be the year of AI. And to me, what that meant is AI was going to become basically known as kind of a household name, if you will. People are going to know what it is. And maybe there's going to be some decent adoption, even if just, very basic adoption. And then I felt like in 2026 that adoption was going to be more mainstream, kind of like the internet adoption became mainstream. And yet, really, to my surprise, I think that we've already surpassed my personal expectations for where we'd be in 2026. So I'll get back to my question to you, which is just how fast is this really moving?
It is moving really fast beyond all of our expectations. I think the leaders, the large tech leaders like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, OpenAI, everyone is surprised how fast it is moving. So it's not just the common people who are not developing AI, but
Right.
also the engineers who are working with it are surprised about the pace. And I have to tell you that AI is not a new concept. In 1950s, artificial intelligence was coined. The term was coined,
Mhm.
and it kind of stalled because these models need data to be fed, and these models get stronger as you feed the data, and data is the food for these models. And big data revolution, and especially during the pandemic, we all went digital. So the more data is available for these models to learn from, the stronger and better they become. When ChatGPT came out, within 2 months, it reached 100 million users, faster than, and we used to talk about TikTok and Instagram and Netflix. But now ChatGPT changed the adoption like never before. And in fact, there's a lot of reports, McKinsey, PwC, all these large firms are publishing these reports, and they are predicting that AI will add about $15.7 trillion to global GDP by 2030. So the growth is here. I mean, a lot of times I find people who meet with me will talk about should we not? And I always say it's not a question of should you, it's a question, how would you? So really it's not about focusing just on technology, but it's really about your leadership in organizations. When you're running an organization, you want to really think about, am I just chasing the new buzzword, new technology that coming, or I'm actually using the technology as such a powerful tool like AI to make sure I can prioritize my business priorities? Can I really use this technology to enhance, improve, and align the organization with the business priorities they have? So I really think it's an opportunity like never before. And we've seen really great, I mean, in 3 4 decades of our work experiences, we've seen, opportunities, but this is nothing like before we all have seen. And I think there's so much opportunity that if you're a professional, you're a leader, you're a CEO, you're running organizations, you need to start investing in learning. I spoke about the lifelong learner theme, and I think AI has made it mandated that you have to constantly keep learning. And I think a lot of us who are in the field, we are constantly reading and we still feel that we are behind.
Yep.
We're left behind.
It's me. Yep. In fact, I read a daily newsletter on AI. I have a weekly to do that I update every single quarter. So every quarter, I have 13 different topics I want to make sure to research in AI. And yet I still feel woefully behind.
Exactly. And I think you're not alone. I think everyone today feels that I can't consume enough. I mean, there's new technology, new apps coming every day. And now we are entering the world of AI agents. We are building these customized, personalized agents. And, in the book, I talk a little bit about that when you think about AI, it's not about just, as you know, I say, there's so many newsletters. It's not just about reading newsletters or podcasts and just consuming the information, but it's also thinking about what's my number one business challenge that AI can solve. What should I really be focusing on? How do I apply AI to my front office, or personalize or create your client insights, or do risk analysis or automation? Those are the use cases. So it really it's about not just getting lost in this technology, but really thinking about how you can apply this. And, in the book, I talk about the frameworks, really understand where your business is if you're looking at AI for your business. So I talk about the business assessment and then the data readiness. Do you have the right data, the quality, is it governed, is it secure? What other use cases can you use for using AI to solve your top 2 3 business problems? Is it
Mhm.
there's I work with large organizations, and they're all thinking about, they want to apply AI everywhere because that's the new thing. But I always say that, think about one of the top 2 or 3 problems you can solve will give you the biggest value instead of going all over the place. And really thinking about building the momentum. I talk about the whole concept about AI flywheel. How do you create small wins, reinvest and scale? Building the momentum. So really focusing and solving the important problems becomes critical in this day and age.
I saw in doing the research, so your first book is The AI Factor, correct?
Yes.
And so I saw a lot in there about the flywheel. Can you give me a little more explanation about that? And then I also want to transition to the second book, or seems like kind of a workbook that you came out with afterwards, but would love to hear more about the flywheel.
Yeah, so in the book, the first book, The AI Factor, I wrote the book because I spent 35 years in the industry, and what I realized is that a lot of time the technology conversation becomes all buzzwords and business doesn't really get it. And business is so focused on the value the business needs to generate that the technology feels lost. So the purpose of the book was to really bring technology and business together to talk about how can they use technology as a power tool, use AI as the X factor in your business to create the growth you need to create, reduce the redundancy in your organization, create efficiencies. So really use the framework, and I talk about the 4-step framework, but really starts from the power quadrant, knowing you want to use this technology to create efficiencies, be an optimizer. You can be create acceleration in your business, innovation in your business. So you want to be an innovator, or you want to be able to get market share, or be an extender, or you can be a multiplier. You can really change your business model. So really understanding what quadrant do you fit in first, and then look at the l- data, which is the data readiness framework I talk about. Then comes the prioritization of the use cases, and then lastly is the AI flywheel. When you go through those first 3 steps, it gives you a very focused approach of using AI to create the change, effective change you need to create. You know, I I have some of the clients who will say, "Oh, we went out and bought OpenAI, chat large language model licenses, and we are struggling because there's no adoption." So if you don't have a proper plan of where and how you're going to use AI within your business, then it's a chaos. And so the AI flywheel talks about starting small, creating small wins, and then creating the scale instead of going out and buying licenses for, OpenAI licenses for all your employees. And there were like 70,000 employees. But that will cause a lot of confusion. So, really thinking about small wins and then scaling is what AI flywheel is all about.
That makes so much sense because I probably, and obviously, we're not a 70,000 employee business. We're a much smaller business, but, the nation's made up of a lot of small businesses.
Yes.
And I'm probably wound to be that typical business owner that you're talking about. That is kind of the mentality is, hey, I want it all. I want to bring it in. How do we throw everything against the wall and see what sticks? And what you're really saying, which makes so much sense, is have a focus on one or two or three areas that can have the greatest impact and really silo that focus so that you can take advantage of it, which probably will propel you as you expand down the line to being more prepared to bring on additional, or adapt additional types of AI to continue to help different areas.
Exactly. And then you spoke about the workbook. I wrote the first book, and then a lot of these business leaders were coming to me and they were saying, listen, we read the book, we like it, it all makes sense. Where do I start? You know, do you have a playbook? Can we look at a step by step, you know, checklist, assessment, exercises that we can use with our employees, with our teams? to start implementing. And so that's when I thought about the workbook, because the frameworks are great, but if you don't know how to really execute, then it becomes shelfware, right? So the whole thought was just not making this theory strategy needs to be executed. So how do I transfer strategy into something which people can use step by step workbook to assess the maturity, of their organization, think about where the opportunity lies for my business value. They can create a roadmap, so the first was the book, then came the workbook, and then I launched the AI Factor Institute for Strategy, so that I can provide the tools that organizations need to make sure that they can not just hear about it, but also implement it.
Yeah. And the name of the book, I'll plug that, is the AI Factor Workbook, a playbook for achieving exponential growth. My next question, candidly, is a selfish question, but just curious. I know you've done some things on the wealth management side. I'm curious where you see the biggest opportunities for somebody in my field. Let's call it. It could be an investment consultant. It could be a more wealth management component, or of course, as you know, we run a multifamily office as well. What do you think the biggest opportunities for us are? And if we were looking at the flywheel, what would be your suggestion on maybe the one or two areas that we should probably focus on first?
Yeah, a great question. And I would say that what a great industry to use AI to serve your customers. Really think about, we have this power now to personalize at scale. Personalization is going to be a big thing in 25, 26, because hyper personalization on advice based on client patterns would be critical, right? We already have Bank of America and many other large retail firms who are using personalized chatbots to kind of give you advice and so on. But I think the wealth managers and the boutique firms can use AI to truly serve their clients, to understand and be more proactive instead of reactive. Really understand when and what your clients' needs are and how to address them. So I think hyper personalization is a big one, which we'll see and hear a lot more in the wealth management industry. I truly believe that it's not replacing the wealth manager. That's another question I get. I think this will become the tool that wealth managers could use to get more closer to their customers. I mean, it's truly a luxury when clients can get that kind of personalized service from their firms. And I also think risk intelligence is another good use case for wealth managers to really think about analyzing the models for microeconomics or geopolitical risk. I also think the operational efficiency, which has been used for across all industries, a lot of automation, reporting. I think wealth managers can truly create the efficiencies on onboarding or compliance situations. And then I would say in family office, the whole generational engagement, when you think about, the generation that's involved in family office, AI can truly create that, reduce that gap for family offices specifically.
Mhm.
So I think AI can definitely help with compliance, personalization, quick ROI, and really become this tool for wealth managers to create that connectivity with their clients
Yeah.
like never before.
I 100% agree with you. The one area that I don't know if it's a disagreement, but maybe it's just a different way of looking at it, is I do think in a roundabout way that AI will put some wealth managers out of business. And I think the wealth managers that it has the potential to put out of business is somebody, a firm that, one, is not creating value for their
Yes.
clients over and above the basic things that we do, the investment portfolios and whatnot. I think that value creation is going to be key to surviving in our business. But in tandem with that, to exactly, Asha, what you're saying is the adapting and the adoption of this technology to make what we're doing and to make what we're doing so much better, but also to create additional value even above and beyond what we're currently doing.
I agree. So they say AI is not going to replace you, but the person who knows how to use AI will replace you.
Yes,
So
that's perfect.
I agree with what you're saying, because what I was saying originally was that AI won't replace you. But what I'm hearing is that if you don't add value and if you don't use a tool like AI to actually, create the hyper personalization, or, the return on investment for your clients, it's going to be hard for you. I agree 100%.
So, Asha, how would you guide a business owner like me? I clearly get what you're saying, focus on one or two areas, then really just, again, adapt and adopt AI in those areas. And yet, you do kind of have that FOMO, that fear of missing out, because again, it's moving so rapidly. How would you suggest to keep your eye on the ball and not get distracted by every single day, every single week, there's something new and something better?
I couldn't have said it better. Like, yeah, I feel like you're leading me to the answer. You don't win by being faster, but it's really important that you win by being clear and intentional.
Mm.
You know, it's so important that you can build, and you don't have to do it all. You build an ecosystem of vendors or advisors or partners who you can, tap into. So there are a lot of products that's available. So you don't have to go out now and build things from scratch. You can
Right.
plug and play now. So really thinking about what does your ecosystem look like now, which has to be different than what it was before. Can you start by testing and learning, instead of just jumping all in and, and just running after the shiny object. Uh, I would say keep going back to clarity on purpose, knowing how to align your AI initiatives with what your organization needs are. So if your organization need a wealth manager is to serve your customer and really be the best customer service, then you're going to use AI initiatives for the customer service. You want to analyze and be risk averse, then you're going to use it for that. So having a clear purpose of the organization to know where and how to use AI will become really important.
Yeah, makes so much sense. Asha, I think you've already answered this, but I'm going to ask it again. My business coach says that he likes slow learners with large pocketbooks. I love that quote. But sometimes you have to hear things over and over. But what do you see that really separates companies that are successfully adopting AI versus companies that are not successfully adopting this?
The very, very first thing, I'm going to talk about, of course, having the clarity, which we spoke about already,
Hmm.
intentionality, aligning your AI with I keep saying, because I'm an AI strategist, so really not going and want to do it all, but be strategic about where and how you're going to use AI within your business. I think culture is really a big thing, making sure that you have the culture to train, de risk, or empower your employees to learn and test and take chances, And I think it's not a small and easy task because people are scared of this technology. So I would say definitely courage to be able to build some pilots and some POCs to see if can I really implement, You don't want AI to be just a strategic plan. You want to make sure that you can start experimenting, even though I help build the strategic plans for AI, how do you implement AI within your workflows? How do you automate your workflows with AI? That's a big use case. But it's also important that you automate the workforce, but also educate your staff so they're not scared about it. It's not
Hmm.
just you championing it and running around with the AI flag, but you also have your team that is helping you to or helping the organization's mission by using and adopting it. So I think starting really small, making maybe a proof of concepts, and then do proof of value as you talk about the value, which is really important. And then you roll out, then you do the enterprise rollout, but really taking small step, focusing on the value, aligning it to what you really want to get out of it is really critical.
Fantastic. Let's pivot a little bit. So I believe, and actually, this has been my belief even really before AI became, the beast that it is today. But I believe AI is going to significantly disrupt our schooling system, not only K through 12, but college and beyond. What are your thoughts on that?
Listen, I teach at Columbia University. I'm a professor, and I have this conversation in our faculty meetings. I'm having this conversation with our students. I'm excited for the education systems. I still feel glad that I have opportunity to keep learning every day. And now I have an AI tutor. I can be curious. I can think differently. I can learn about any technology, any subject. And, it doesn't have to be tech. It could be humanities, finance, medicine, law, so we can really expand. So think about K to 12, less memorization. I mean, we grew up where we had to learn about, things and just read and read. Imagine this day and age when you can actually understand the concepts and you don't have to worry about just memorizing. So I think it's a day and age when you can actually teach your kids to be critical thinker. And of course, there's a pro and con. There'll be some people who are just cutting and pasting and just, and that's what I tell my students. Even how you ask a question from your large language model, how you're curious about a subject will make it or break it for you. It'll make you stand out. So how you're curious, what questions you're asking, what problem are you solving, how you're becoming more interdisciplinary by using and learning about different skills. So I truly believe that we are living in the day and age where we all have to be learners at all times, irrespective of the age, using this technology to truly understand the concept and go deeper. And I think when you think about even the faculty, they have to be different kinds of teachers, because it's not just about write the essay or give me the answer. It's about, why is this answer the way it's coming? Why 2 plus 2 is 4? So really thinking about the concepts really well. So I think the faculty will have to change how they teach. So I love the fact that we all have to reskill, and so reskilling is important. And upskilling is important, and it's important how we change our behaviors as parents, as teachers, as professors, or as students. So I'm excited for this day and age, because now you can truly understand the concept deeply and really be able to spend time on what you're interested in, unlike before where we have
Mm.
traditional curriculum and we just
Yes.
stuck with that.
And you use the word curious. I feel exactly the same way you do. I use the word passion. And I feel that at a young age, relatively young age, you can really start to determine where somebody's passion is. My son, unlike me, my son had no passion for math. And yet he had to sit through algebra and calculus and to your point, memorize formulas and learn things that he had no passion, no interest in, and was not going to have an impact on anything that he would do the rest of his career. And I seem to feel like we're going to kind of matriculate towards a more siloed schooling system, almost like a tech type schooling system where, hey,
Exactly.
if your passion is engineering, from a young age, you're going to be focused on learning about engineering and go that path. And regardless of what your passion is, I think that the schooling system is going to adjust to what a curriculum for you should be.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's fun because, not as you said, you could be an engineering student and you say, what, I'm this is your curriculum, but you can say, what, I'm interested in music and I want to see how I can use engineering and music together or media together. Now you can explore like never before.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great age, great time to be alive. Now,
Yes.
there's a lot of positive and negative things that are said regarding AI and the impact on the workforce. Can you give me some insight there from entry level stages to all the way to the CEO?
Listen,
What's going to change?
yeah, I have to say the entry level, a lot of repetitive manual tasks are going to be automated. So this is true, like what you said before, that there will be some jobs that will be replaced by AI, but there'll be new jobs that will be created. So at the entry level, can the people who are coming in entry level, can they actually use AI to be able to take that shift from just doing the manual work to say, now how can I interpret the results of this automation and be creative to give the output in a better way? So the jobs will change. So the entry level job, I say that every single professional will become a manager, because you'll be managing a digital human. So I just finished writing my third book. It's called Digital Human Advantage, which is coming out in March next year. And I talk
Congratulations, by the
about,
way.
thank you. And the reason of that book was because I saw this shift of having, you call them agents, you call them digital human, but we're going to have at our workforce, we're going to have Amy, who's our HR recruiter, but it's an AI bot. And we'll have probably John, who's a talent management person, who's a human. And that human is interacting with this digital agent or digital human. And our workforce will be combined with digital humans and real humans. How would our workforce look like? So we all need to. I also did a TEDx in which I talk about human upgrade. We all have to be upgraded to be able to navigate with these employees of ours who are digital agents, and they'll be doing work for us. But what we say, how we decide what task they'll be doing, we have to be upgraded. And I think so the middle management has to become more responsible in how they translate or dictate or delegate to the digital humans.
Uh-huh.
And then CEOs are going to become our chief learning officers. They have to be dynamic. They have to think about strategy, responsible, ethical AI practices, because now leadership is not just about giving just results, but also this technology is very powerful. It can have good or bad impact. So, as leaders, we have to start deciding how this technology will be implemented within our organization, how our employees are engaging with it. So, it's truly about professionals not only learn how to use AI, but use AI as collaborators,
Mhm.
understand how to effectively engage with this technology and become better. So 100% the jobs will be redesigned. There will be jobs that will be displaced, but there'll be new jobs created. I always talk about in my class to the students when I'm working with the CEOs and their teams is that you have to learn, and the curious lifelong learner will be the theme of the year. Just make sure that you're learning to add value. There's a lot of value we can add within our organization, but how we do it will differentiate you from the other professionals.
I completely agree with you. When I listen to and read about things regarding AI, that there's a lot of negativity out there. And I look at that as, there's a lot of people that look at the glass as being half full and or half empty. And I just truly believe there's so much opportunity to advance what we're doing and to create new jobs and to create new skills and to help a lot of people not only get in the workforce, but be happy in the workforce. I think definitely think the glass is half full and think there's some great opportunity there. Yeah. So uh, based on that, I mean, so looking ahead, if you could predict over the course of, say, the next 5 years, what do you think is going to be the biggest disruptor that AI creates?
I definitely think that the fact that every single human being will be using AI as a collaborator is going to be completely different way of working. The whole decision making using AI, we all will be at our work using AI as a decision support system. But not just for us, it's going to be at scale, and at scale in our work life, in our personal life. And what I worry about, the risk is that we are codifying all these biases into the system. So when you think about the credit risk or, hiring employees, so how we design the system, and that's why I started this whole organization called World Leaders in Data and AI to with a mission to build a fair digital world. My biggest worry was that, especially with the large organizations, taking responsibility of how we implement AI. You know, it's transparency, it's making sure that the bias is in control, and the opportunities that we have actually, the bias is going to be there. The bias, the risk with having a technology like that, the deep fakes coming out. So there's definitely risk, but the opportunity is that technology can actually be transparent. Can Technology can actually catch the biases and try to be more
Hmm.
fair. So if we actually design these systems with the firewalls, with the security, with the guardrails, we can actually create a better digital world for us. So it becomes really important as leaders, we're engaged with this technology responsibly. We should, and I always say that it's not about what should AI do. It's really about you know, what it, everybody's talking about what can it do for us, what AI is going to do for us. It's how we control it. How do we create the guardrails to make sure that we're building something which is governed, which has the guardrail, because that's what everybody's been worried about. That this is such a strong technology that when do we actually get to a place where we can't turn it off? And so I think it is so critical for leaders who are engaging and implementing at scale become more responsible. And I
Mhm.
think that's really and that's why the journey doesn't start when you're implementing it. Journey starts when you're building the strategy to make sure that we encode and encrypt these methodologies in fairness from the very beginning till the end.
Yeah, makes sense. Listen, this has been absolutely amazing to me. I feel like we've just scratched the surface. And Asha, I hope you'll be willing to come back at a future point, perhaps after your newest book comes out early next year. I would love to have you on again because, again, this is going to continue to grow and change. And I think you just bring so much to the table. I'd like to give you the opportunity, if you'd like to leave behind anything for our audience, such as names of your books. I'm sure they're on Amazon. Anything else about your services that you would like to provide?
For the first thing, I would say that for everybody who's listening, just remember that AI is not the protagonist. We all keep thinking, oh my God, AI is, this big shift and is the hero, but it's not. We are.
Yeah.
How we as leaders encrypt the values and how we shape the outcomes is really our responsibility. So I would say that everybody who's listening, I think you all need to jump in, lead with curiosity and responsible and how you use this technology, because it is very strong. And listen, there are tons of books to read. I wrote about AI, how to use AI factor within your business to create the growth that you can with this technology, the AI factor and the AI factor workbook. You can find a lot of information about the book on the website, the aifactor.ai, and engage with the world leaders in data and AI. It's WLDA.tech, where we actually building this world to make sure it's a fair digital world. And best way to connect with me is on LinkedIn, Asha Saxena. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any. If you're curious to learn more, or if you have something that just pops up after you listen to this episode, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to answer any questions for you.
Fantastic. And again, I completely agree with what you said. I look at all of this as I'm a big mindset person. You have to have the right mindset and just a culture of trying to improve and trying to get better. And I think we both say the same things in different ways, but I love everything that you have to say. And again, thank you so much for being here. And it was a pleasure to meet you. And I look forward to staying in touch.
And I enjoyed it as well. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to Significance of Wealth on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. You can also follow Tom Ruggie and Destiny Family Office on LinkedIn and destinyfamilyoffice.com for more insights on wealth management, private market opportunities, and collectibles. Until next time. The expressed views, thoughts, and opinions belong solely to the host and/or guests and are not investment recommendations or opinions issued by Destiny Wealth Partners or its affiliates. Investment advisory services are offered through Destiny Wealth Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Destiny Wealth Partners also conducts business under the name Destiny Family Office. Destiny Family Office podcasts are the sole property of Destiny Family Office, and information provided is for informational and educational purposes only. Learn more at www.destinyfamilyoffice.com/disclosures.